In the headlines, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy is feeling optimistic after Thursday's court proceedings. This after former PNP Chief Nicolas Torre took the stand for the first time, facing a rigorous cross-examination by the defense. A historic yet cautious diplomatic reset. Carney is in Beijing, the first time a Canadian Prime Minister has visited China in nearly a decade, aiming to mend years of strained relations. President Vladimir Putin is doubling down, blaming NATO expansion for the war in Ukraine. Addressing new ambassadors in Moscow, Putin claimed the conflict is the direct result of the West ignoring Russia's security interests for years. Escalation in the Caribbean. U.S. forces have intercepted and boarded the oil tanker Veronica as part of an ongoing maritime quarantine. The seizure is the latest move in the widening Operation Southern Spear. Beijing shuts the door on Japan's trade requests. China has officially rejected Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's call to lift export controls on rare earth elements, citing concerns over Tokyo's military ambitions. In the Philippines, Malacanang says the Infrastructure Commission is still in business. Despite having only one member left, the palace asserts the ICI can still recommend charges, even as Special Advisor Rodolfo Azurin Jr. demands clarity on the commission's future. And in entertainment, BTS looks to Korean roots for their next era. The K-pop icons have revealed their upcoming album title, confirming the project is inspired by one of Korea's most legendary folk songs. I'm Jayne Codnita. Newsline World starts now. KOJC leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy expressed optimism over Thursday's court proceedings after former Philippine National Police Chief Nicolas Torre appeared in court for the first time and was subjected to cross-examination by the defense. Margot Gonzalez will give us more details.
KOJC leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy waved to his supporters and members of the media as he arrived at the Pasig Regional Trial Court for the hearing. He faced Nicolas Torre, who was presented by the prosecution as one of its witnesses in the case. The prosecution presented Torre to prove that Pastor Apollo was arrested and did not voluntarily surrender to the authorities. Torre was placed under cross-examination. The first day of questioning by lead defense counsel attorney Reto Torion lasted more than 5 hours. After the hearing, Pastor Quiboloy said he was positive about how the cross-examination went. This marked the first time that Quiboloy and Torre faced each other in court. Torre is set to be presented again for the continuation of the defense questioning.
Kamusta kayo, sir? Maganda. We hope na kasi maganda yung takbo.
Attorney Torian said that there were mixed atmosphere during the cross-examination.
Okay naman, yun nga lang, medyo may portion sa cross-examination na medyo mainit, meron ding relaxing, so ganyan talagang trabaho.
Torian added that he still has many points to clarify with Torre, but refused to disclose details to the media.
Hindi po pwede. That would touch into the merits of the case, and this is a sensitive case. I cannot. Baka ma-contempt ako.
The pastor has previously denied all accusations against him and said he has the full support of his congregation. He said he voluntarily surrendered to prove in court that the accusations against him have no basis. Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo, who shared advice for his close friend, former President Rodrigo Duterte, whom he said is likewise a victim of false accusations. Advice he also gives to members of the KOJC. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Margot Gonzalez, SMNI News.
Malacanang asserted that the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI remains capable of recommending the filing of cases even if only one member remains. The palace also responded to the statement of ICI Special Advisor Rodolfo Azurin Jr. that they intend to write to the Office of the President to seek clarification on the Commission's fate. Creselyn Catarong reports.
In an ambush interview in Mandaluyong City on Friday, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said that the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, is nearing the completion of its mandate as almost all of the necessary investigations have already been conducted. He noted that there may only be a few remaining issues or loose ends that the Commission needs to clarify. Once the ICI has fully completed its work and submitted all relevant information to the Department of Justice and the Office of the Ombudsman, Marcos said the focus of the investigation will shift to these agencies. Regarding the possibility of reappointing new commissioners, the president said that no final decision has been made. He stressed that this would still depend on whether the ICI has remaining work that needs to be finished. The president added that if the services of the commission are still needed, the administration is open to extending its work. However, if the mandate has already been fulfilled and reports have been submitted to the appropriate agencies, Marcos said the DOJ and the Ombudsman would be sufficient to carry out the next steps in the investigation. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
Tragedy struck on one of Thailand's busiest highways after a construction crane toppled onto passing traffic, leaving at least 2 dead. The horrific accident has renewed outrage over persistent safety failures on the infamous road project. Carlo de la Peña reports.
What was supposed to be a routine commute turned into a nightmare on Ramatu Road as a massive steel crane came crashing down without warning. Heavy concrete and twisted metal flattened 2 moving vehicles. First responders who rushed to the scene confirmed that both cars were in motion when they were crushed, giving the drivers no chance to escape. As recovery teams worked for hours to peel back the wreckage, medical units from the health ministry stood by, fearing more victims might still be buried underneath.
ยังไงก็ต้องมีคนขับอยู่แล้วครับเพราะรถมันวิ่งอยู่บนถนนในลักษณะที่โดนทับเนี่ยรถไม่ได้จอดอยู่กับที่ไงถูกไหมฮะรถมันวิ่งเราประเมินว่ามันมีคนอย่างน้อยเนี่ยรถ2คันต้องมีคนขับคันละ1คนแต่ทางนี้และทางนั้นเนี่ยถ้ายกขึ้นมาแล้วหรือดึงออกมาแล้วเนี่ยจะมีผู้โดยสารนั่งข้างคนขับมาด้วยหรือเปล่าอันนั้นต้องมารอดูอีกทีนึง
This latest disaster has reignited a long-standing debate over the safety of this major southern artery. Ramatu has become notorious for its never-ending construction and a grim history of fatal accidents. Local medical experts say the toll on human life along this stretch of road has reached alarming levels over the years.
มีคนบาดเจ็บ 1,400 กว่าคนมีคนเสียชีวิตประมาณ140 คนก็เป็นอะไรที่น่าเป็นห่วงถึงคุณภาพของการสร้างถนนสายนี้
While investigators look into what caused the crane to fail, the community is mourning yet another loss on a road many now fear to travel. Officials warn that that toll may still rise as the debris is fully cleared. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Ombudsman Boying Rimulya does not believe reports regarding the supposed recantations or the withdrawal of testimonies by former engineers known as the BGC boys concerning anomalous flood control projects and an alleged kickback scheme. This is allegedly a ploy by a senator's lawyer. Carla Abellana reports.
It is allegedly the lawyer of Senator Joel Villanueva himself who is spreading the supposed recantation of withdrawal of testimony by former officials of the Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office. In the reports, these officials reportedly include Henry Alcantara, Bryce Hernandez, and JP Mendoza, a claim that Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Rimulya has since refuted. Rimulya further stated,
Then, walang ganon. Ano lang yan, inispin nga yan ni Moniz Guerra, lawyer ni Joel Villanueva. Siyempre, trying to get a good deal for Joel siguro.
Rimulya is reportedly unfazed by the recantation being pushed by Senator Villanueva's lawyer.
Nag-testify na sila under oath. Babawiin mo ngayon yan. Magdadagdag ka pa ng problema. Kaya may problema ka na.
Villanueva's camp previously stated that they no longer wish to comment on the issue since the investigation is already underway. The lawyer of the BGC boys have also strongly denied that any testimonies previously given to the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee have been withdrawn. Currently, Henry Alcantara, contractor Sally Santos, former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo, and Gerard Opelencia have been admitted as state witnesses under the Witness Protection Program in connection with the flood control anomaly. According to the DOJ, there are insufficient grounds to include Bryce Hernandez and JP Mendoza in the program and declare them as state witnesses. As for Ombudsman Rimulya,
Ano yun? Di wala na tayo ikukulong, wala na tayong pananagutin. Hindi ganun ang batas. Ang batas, hanapin mo talaga yung pwede mo talaga panagutin, di ba?
for God in my beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Up next, a historic yet cautious diplomatic reset. Mark Carney is in Beijing, the first time a Canadian Prime Minister has visited China in nearly a decade, aiming to mend years of strained relations. And Beijing shuts the door on Japan's trade request. China has officially rejected Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's call to lift export controls on rare earth elements, citing concerns over Tokyo's military ambitions. More news when Newsline World returns.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Maging alerto at handa tuwing may bagyo. Upang manatiling ligtas, narito ang ilang mahahalagang paalala. Manatili sa loob ng bahay. Iwasan ang paglabas lalo na kung malakas ang ulan at hangin. Mag-imbak ng pagkain at malinis na tubig. Maghanda ng emergency kit. Manatiling updated sa lagay ng panahon. Maghanda ng mga flashlight at extra baterya. Panatilihing fully charged ang iyong cellphone. I-secure ang mahahalagang dokumento sa waterproof na lalagyan. Patayin ang kuryente, gas at tubig kung may banta ng pagbaha. Alamin ang iyong local emergency hotlines. Putulin o tapyasan ang mga sanga ng puno na maaaring mabuwal sa malakas na ulan at hangin. Lumikas agad kung inabisuhan ng mga otoridad. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa panahon ng kalamidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Carney is in China, marking this the first time a Canadian Prime Minister traveled to Beijing in nearly a decade in a cautious attempt to reset relations after years of diplomatic strain. Joy Tabanao for the details.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is visiting China for the first time in 8 years. In a sign of warming relations following a prolonged diplomatic rift, Carney arrived in the Chinese capital for a 4-day official visit as Ottawa looks to stabilize ties that deteriorated sharply after the arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver in 2018, a move that triggered a prolonged diplomatic standoff at that time.
This is the first visit by a Canadian Prime Minister to China in 8 years, and it holds pivotal and historic significance for bilateral relations. The world today is undergoing unprecedented and complex changes, and China-Canada relations have implications that transcend the two countries. China is willing to strengthen communication with Canada, enhance mutual trust, remove interference, deepen cooperation, and promote bilateral relations to develop steadily, substantively, and successfully under the new circumstances.
The dispute over Meng's arrest, followed by China's detention of 2 Canadian citizens, marked one of the lowest points in relations between the two countries. But analysts say the visit reflects a recalibration in Canada's approach to China.
I think it's a clear message that he has moved Canada's strategy to a much more pragmatic, interest-based, focused relationship with our trading partners, moving away from values-based narratives that we might have heard on previous governments. Canada has spoken about moving from what the Prime Minister's office is calling from reliance to resilience, and that means diversifying our economies and our trade everywhere in the world. And so China being our second largest trading partner, it makes perfect sense for our PM to head to Beijing.
Hanlon also pointed to significant economic potential, including cooperation in liquefied natural gas exports, oil pipeline access to Asian markets, and critical minerals, where Canada is a major producer and China a key buyer. During talks in Beijing, Chinese Premier Li Chang said relations had taken a turn for the better, pointing to opportunities for cooperation in clean energy, digital technology, agriculture, and aerospace. Chinese Premier Li Chang said bilateral relations had recently improved and confirmed that President Xi Jinping is expected to meet Carney. Carney, meanwhile, said Ottawa remains committed to dialogue, economic cooperation, and multilateral engagement while reaffirming its long-standing One China policy. The visit included a formal welcome ceremony and the signing of multiple cooperation agreements, marking the most significant engagement between the two countries in nearly a decade. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Beijing has officially rejected a request from Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi to withdraw export controls on rare earth elements. Chinese officials accused Tokyo of distorting the truth while citing concerns over Japan's military ambitions. This report from Kai Villan.
China is standing firm on its decision to restrict the export of critical rare earth elements to Japan. During a press conference in Beijing, Ministry of Commerce spokesperson He Yongkian dismissed calls from Tokyo to lift the ban on over 800 dual-use items. The restrictions target materials that China claims could be used to bolster Japan's military capabilities and nuclear ambitions. He Yongkian emphasized that the measures are entirely legal and are a direct response to what Beijing describes as erroneous words and actions by the Japanese Prime Minister.
日方不正视问题根源，反而编造指责中方经济胁迫，完全是颠倒黑白、强词夺理。其言辞和行径更令人担忧军国主义复活。我们再次敦促日方切实反躬自省，纠正错误，避免在错误的道路上越走越远。
While tensions rise with Japan, Beijing is signaling a thaw in trade relations with other Western powers. The spokesperson highlighted a soft landing in the electric vehicle dispute with the European Union following a successful consultations on price guidance for Chinese exports. Additionally, all eyes are on the arrival of Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who is in Beijing for the first visit by a Canadian leader in 8 years. Chinese officials described the visit as a potential turning point that could open new doors for trade and investment between the two nations. As China navigates these complex diplomatic waters, it maintains that export controls are a necessary step to fulfill international non-proliferation obligations and prevent regional remilitarization. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
When we return, President Vladimir Putin is doubling down, blaming NATO expansion for the war in Ukraine. Addressing EU ambassadors in Moscow, Putin claimed the conflict is the direct result of the West ignoring Russia's security interests for years. And escalation in the Caribbean, U.S. forces have intercepted and boarded the oil tanker Veronica as part of an ongoing maritime quarantine. Seizure is the latest move in the whiting Operation Southern Spear. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Ang buot sa Diyos, kitang mga katawhan, tunay espiritong mupadayon o muantos. Kay dakitan sa Diyos sa unahan, basta mahimo ka ng anak sa Ginoo sa kingharian, daghan ang mga pagsulay. Kung way pagantos, di ka makalahutay. Kung walay pagkamakanunayon, dili gyapon ka makalahutay. Ang tuyo sa Diyos, nga ang matagos nga gitawag, makalahutay. Makalahutay lamang sa mga pagsulay kundili sa pagtubo nga makaabot siya sa ikaupat nga laka nga dito na manukat ang iyang reward.
Maging ligtas, maging handa. Narito ang ilang paalala kung sakaling tumama ang lindol. Maghanda ng emergency kits na may lamang flashlight, pito, first aid kit, tubig at pagkain. Alamin ang emergency exits sa inyong bahay, paaralan o opisina. Habang lumilindol, magtago sa ilalim ng matibay na lamesa upang maprotektahan ang sarili sa mga nahulog na bagay. Lumayo sa mga bintana at mabibigat na gamit na maaring mahulog. Kung ikaw ay nasa labas, lumayo sa mga gusali, puno o poste na maaaring matumba. Kung ikaw ay nagmamaneho, itabi at ihinto ang sasakyan at lumabas. Pagkatapos ng lindol, gamitin ang hagdan sa paglabas ng gusali at huwag gumamit ng elevator. Maging alerto sa aftershocks at manatili sa open space kung kinakailangan. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa anumang sakuna. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
President Vladimir Putin has blamed the NATO expansion for the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, telling newly arrived ambassadors in Moscow that the conflict is the result of what he called years of ignored Russian security interests. This report.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said the conflict in Ukraine was a direct result of what he described as years of ignored Russian security interests and NATO expansion. Putin said this during a ceremony to receive credentials from newly arrived ambassadors in Moscow. The ceremony took place at the Grand Kremlin Palace, with ambassadors from 34 countries in attendance. The Russian leader told the ambassadors security must be comprehensive, equal and indivisible, and should not be built at the expense of other states. He claimed NATO's expansion toward Russia's borders created threats to Moscow's security, despite what he said were earlier assurances to the contrary.
И главное, нужно исходить из того, что безопасность должна быть действительно всеобъемлющей, а значит равной и неделимой. И она не может быть обеспечена для одних за счет безопасности других. Пренебрежение этим базовым, жизненно важным принципом ни к чему хорошему никогда не приводило и не приведет. Это наглядно показал и кризис вокруг Украины, ставший прямым следствием многолетнего игнорирования справедливых интересов России и целенаправленного курса на создание угроз нашей безопасности, на продвижение к российским границам блока НАТО, вопреки данным нам публичным обещаниям.
The president revealed that Moscow had repeatedly proposed initiatives to build a new, reliable and fair architecture of European and global security, and called for renewed discussions aimed at achieving a peaceful settlement of the Ukraine conflict. Russia, Putin said, remains committed to a multipolar world and to maintaining open and mutually beneficial relations with partners willing to cooperate. The remarks come as the Russia-Ukraine conflict enters its fourth year with no immediate end to the fighting in sight.
U.S. forces have intercepted and boarded another oil tanker in the Caribbean as part of an ongoing maritime quarantine. The seizure of the motor tanker Veronica marks the latest escalation in Operation Southern Spear. Carlo de la Peña is back for more news.
Dramatic footage released by the U.S. Southern Command shows elite troops rappelling from a helicopter onto the deck of the oil tanker Veronica. The pre-dawn raid was carried out by Marines and sailors launched from the USS Gerald R. Ford, known the largest warship in the world. According to military officials, the vessel was apprehended without incident after allegedly defying a quarantine on sanctioned ships established by President Trump. The Veronica is now the latest in a series of tankers seized globally, following similar intercepts in the Caribbean and even as far as the North Atlantic. The U.S. Marines, these actions are necessary to enforce maritime restrictions, though the operations have sparked a fierce diplomatic backlash. The Russian Foreign Ministry has officially condemned the recent seizure of the Marinera, a vessel they claim was under a temporary Russian flag. Spokesperson Maria Zakharova described the capture of civilian crews as a gross violation of international law, demanding the release of those detained. While the U.S. confirmed the release of 2 Russian crew members on Friday, tension remains high as the naval blockade continues to tighten its grip on Caribbean shipping lanes. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The coffins of 32 Cuban military officers killed in Venezuela arrived at Havana's Jose Marti International Airport on Thursday. The fallen servicemen were reportedly killed during the recent U.S. military operation that led to the capture of Nicolas Maduro. More on this from Almar Forzuelo.
As dawn broke over Havana, a military transport plane carrying the remains of 32 Cuban officers touched down on the runway. The arrival was met with somber atmosphere as an honor guard escorted the flag-draped coffins through a procession of mourning. Top Cuban leaders including Raul Castro and President Miguel Diaz-Canel stood in silence as a military band played the national anthem to honor those killed in the line of duty. The officers were stationed in Venezuela and lost their lives during the high-stakes operation by U.S. forces to apprehend Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores.
Nos reunimos para recibir en nuestro suelo a hermanos que cayeron lejos de su casa, pero no de su deber. Al acoger sus restos mortales, renovamos ante ellos el juramento de lealtad a la patria, a la unidad de los pueblos de América Latina.
During the ceremony, government officials and senior military brass paid tribute to the soldiers, describing their actions as the ultimate sacrifice for internationalist ideals. Minister Lazaro Alberto Alvarez Casas delivered a defiant eulogy, emphasizing that the fighters stood their ground until their final moments.
Que no claudicaron, no dudaron, pelearon hasta la última bala y ofrendaron sus valiosas vidas en cumplimiento de la misión encomendada.
Following the airport honors, the remains were moved to the Ministry of the Revolutionary Armed Forces near Plaza of the Revolution. The site will remain open to the public throughout the day, allowing citizens to pay their final respects to the fallen servicemen before they are laid to rest. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsualo, SMNI News.
A one-time big-time operation was conducted by the Land Transportation Office or LTO against fixers in Metro Manila. According to the agency, this is not only a fight against corruption, but also an effort to protect the safety of motorists. Kai Villan tells us more.
On January 15, the LTO conducted a major operation against fixers in the National Capital Region, marking the start of an intensified campaign to end corruption within the agency. According to LTO Chief ASEC Marcos Lacanilao, through entrapment operations conducted alongside the PNP and other law enforcement units, 39 fixers were apprehended at the central office while 24 others were caught in various branch offices.
Nagkaroon kami ng one-time, big-time na operation against fixers dito sa NCR. Start pa lang yan. All in all, nakahuli kami ng 39 na mga fixers. Oo. Dito sa central office, 24. Tapos hati-hati na sa mga iba't ibang mga opisina.
Lacanilao emphasized that many of the fixers are part of organized groups with connections in various areas. Because of this, operations will be expanded and monitoring will be intensified across all regional offices nationwide.
Kinuha namin yung identity nila sa totoo lang para malaman natin kung sino-sino yung talagang mga fixer na yan kasi organized group din sila eh. Kasi mga iba't ibang area, napansin ko, parang may mga connect na sila, parang meron silang parang pinaka-boss nila. Kaya dire-diretso yan, hahanapin ko talaga yung mga yan.
Alongside the apprehension of fixers, the LTO is also conducting an internal cleansing, which includes the reassignment of 2 officials from Region 7 and Region 4D due to alleged corruption.
Yung pagre-reform ng LTO, hindi kaya kasi siya ng overnight. Kailangan maging consistent yung magiging mga operation para talaga magkaroon ng impact at mabawasan at mawala sila.
Lacanilao further added that going through fixers to obtain a driver's license is not just a simple procedural violation. It is a serious threat to the lives of both motorists and pedestrians. He cited the viral accident in Oriental Mindoro as an example, where a young boy tragically lost his life while crossing a pedestrian lane. Meanwhile, the apprehended fixers will be charged under Republic Act 11032 or Ease of Doing Business Act, local ordinances and the regulations of the Anti-Red Tape Authority or ARTA. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
For the latest sports update, a strong defensive turnaround powered the Orlando Magic to a comeback victory over the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA's first regular season matchup, staged in Berlin. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom will host the opening stages of both the men's and women's Tour de France in 2027, with Edinburgh and Leeds confirmed as the starting cities. Carlo De La Peña will give us the details.
What began as a difficult night for Orlando quickly transformed into a showcase of defensive intensity and timely scoring, highlighted by a late surge from hometown favorite Franz Wagner. After falling behind by 20 points in the opening half, Orlando shifted the momentum by locking in defensively, holding Memphis to just 12 points in the third quarter. That stretch allowed the Magic to seize control and set the tone for the closing minutes. Franz Wagner made his presence felt late, scoring most of his 18 points in the fourth quarter in front of a home crowd. The game marked Wagner's return to action after missing 16 games with an ankle injury and served as a special moment as he played in the city where he was raised. Paolo Banchero anchored Orlando's offense with 26 points and 13 rebounds, while Anthony Black finished with 21 points, 6 rebounds and 7 assists. The Magic rebounded from a shaky first quarter by limiting the Grizzlies to 40 points across the second and third periods combined. Jaren Jackson Jr. carried the scoring load for Memphis with 30 points, but the Grizzlies cooled off significantly after halftime, converting just a third of their field goal attempts. Memphis also continued to play without Ja Morant due to a calf injury, with the two teams set to meet again Sunday in London. The United Kingdom will host the opening stages of both the men's and women's Tour de France next year. Officials say the landmark event will bring elite cycling closer to communities across Britain while delivering major economic and social benefits. Government estimates show the Grand Depart will pass within an hour's drive of 60% of the UK population, offering free public viewing along more than 900 kilometers of roads. It will be the first time the men's and women's tours begin in the same country outside France and the first overseas start for the Tour de France Femme. The men's tour will begin in Edinburgh on July 2, with the opening stage ending in Carlisle, followed by routes from Keswick to Liverpool and Wolfspool to Cardiff. The women's race will start in Leeds on July 30, move on to Manchester, pass through the Peak District to Sheffield, and finish in London on August 1. The Department for Culture, Media and Sport projects the event will generate up to £150 million for the UK economy. Sports Minister Stephanie Peacock has committed £32 million in funding to support delivery and long-term legacy projects. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy said the races will showcase the best of Britain and strengthen national pride, while British Cycling Chief Executive John Dutton said the 6 stages could help reignite interest in the sport and support communities nationwide. Britain last hosted stages of the men's Tour de France in 2014, drawing millions of spectators. In 2027, the race will again highlight iconic locations across Scotland, England, and Wales, underlining the UK's growing role on the global cycling stage. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
Bruno Mars is marking history again. The pop superstar has set new records across Live Nation and Ticketmaster after fans snapped up millions of tickets from his upcoming world tour in just one day. Meanwhile, global K-pop phenomenon BTS has revealed the title of its upcoming full-length album, drawing inspiration from one of Korea's most iconic folk songs. Blake Ann has all the buzz.
Bruno Mars has officially broken Live Nation's record for the largest single-day ticket sales ever, selling 2.1 million tickets for the romantic tour on Thursday alone. Sales figures shared with Forbes show the record-setting numbers span North America, Europe, and the United Kingdom, marking an unprecedented day in Live Nation's history. Live Nation also says Mars set a new Ticketmaster record for the most tickets sold in a single day. The massive demand comes amid heightened anticipation for Mars' upcoming album. His low-key announcement on X, simply stating "my album is done," has already racked up 20.2 million impressions since being posted last January 6. With tickets selling out quickly, the singer has added 32 additional tour dates. The romantic tour launches in April and will feature 70 stadium shows across North America, Europe, and the United Kingdom, with special guest performances from DJ Pee-wee, Victoria Monet, Ray, and Leon Thomas. Now 40, the Hawaiian pop star's new album The Romantic arrives next month and will be his first solo release in 10 years. BTS has officially revealed the title of its upcoming full-length album, Arirang. The group's label, Big Hit Music, made the announcement Friday, explaining that the album is named after Korea's most well-known folk song. The album title was revealed in January 16, confirming Arirang as the group's next major release. The record will include 14 tracks, with a physical album available in 16 versions. Big Hit says the album reflects BTS' identity as a group that began in Korea, as well as the longing and deep love that lie within their hearts. The label adds that Arirang serves as a symbolic expression of the emotions the group wants to communicate. After the album's release, BTS will launch a world tour on April 9, starting at Goyang Sports Complex near Seoul. The tour will cover 34 cities and 79 shows, setting a record as the largest tour in K-pop history. And that's all for now. I'm Blake Ann, bringing you the latest show buzz.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. Do not let your mind rule you. You have to rule your mind. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Jayne Codnita. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.